today. If you, in particular, have lost someone that you were dear to, or maybe not even a family member or a friend. It could have been just a neighbor, a coworker, something like that, who died by suicide, and you're feeling really really awful about that right now. Demi and I aren't therapists, as you know. We just hope to have a real, candid conversation about this, and with God's grace, come out of it with a little bit of understanding of God and His goodness, and why sometimes these things happen. The number is 833-288-3986. 833-288-3986. And Debbie Georgiani is with me, Jerry Usher. Debbie, good day to you.
Hi, Jerry. How you doing? I'm really thrilled to be with our listeners today. But I have to tell you, this is a heavy topic because I think so many of us can remember stories of people we know and loved that have taken their own life. And I think you go through a whole inventory of things, thinking, what could I have done differently? Should I have been there more? Should I have picked up on clues? There were so many things. I just know from two people that I was very close to that took their own life over the years, and both times I felt very guilty because I felt like I could have done more somehow. And and you talk about haunting, and I think you put this on the calendar. It really was a bit. It haunted me for years until I reframed it, like I said last week, and then I looked at it a different way. Now I pray for those people, and I turn it into something more positive, for me to move on. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I have not known anyone. Well, I shouldn't say. One of my uncles actually died by suicide. I was still very young, so it didn't have that impact on me that it would have, if I had been a little bit older and, more of the age of reason and so forth. I think I was under about the age of 4 or 5. But you and I both have mutual friends who have lost loved ones by suicide. I know in my parish, we've had our friend Dave Muth on our program a couple times. His daughter died from suicide. In our parish, I'm just so sorry to say, it just breaks my heart. It doesn't seem like 3 months go by, and our pastor is announcing another, funeral for a suicide victim. So, Debbie, the world is in just a horrible shape right now, and the light of Christ, we have to be beacons of light and of hope, because so many people are just looking, they're groping, they're searching for something, and they're just not finding it.
Well, and here's the other thing too, Jerry. A lot of people struggle with depression and brain health issues, and they just feel like there's no relief in the future. And so the way they feel they're going to get peace is if they have constant rest, sleep, so they could get away from it all. And it's so unfortunate because I think a lot of times when people do take their own lives, they're at that lowest point where they just want rest. They're tired of fighting whatever they're fighting in their brains. Or I just know that from this, I'm going to cry, this dear friend that took his own life. We worked in the insurance industry, and he was struggling with depression and bipolar and a couple other issues, and his wife was threatening to leave him, and he loved his kids and his family so very much, and his business started to decline, and he would reach out to my husband on a weekly basis just to kind of get a pick-me-up. And the day before he died, he called my husband, and my husband was busy with the kids, and I said, Harvey, he'll call you back in just a little bit, and my husband didn't call him back, and he killed himself the next day. Now, I don't think we were in any way responsible for that. I think it was headed towards that direction, but you can imagine the guilt that I felt because I was like, why didn't I just get the phone to my husband? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, sure.
But Harvey needed rest. He was tired of fighting everything that was going on in his brain, and then his kids and his family it was crumbling, and that was everything to him. And so he found there was no light at the end of the tunnel for him at that particular moment, and so he chose that option, which was so unfortunate because you talk about one of the nicest, kindest individuals I'd ever met in my life, and that was Harvey. Now, he died. He's Jewish, a practicing Jew, and so my heart just broke for him. Anyway.
Yeah, well, Debbie, you know well, and most of our listeners do too, that I have had a couple of bouts of very serious depression in my life, and I can totally relate to the feeling of just absolute fatigue, and I cannot go on. I can't fight this anymore. And that longing for rest, you put it so beautifully. That's why, in fact, so many people with depression often will stay in bed, all day, sometimes late into the morning, with the blinds pulled and the covers covered over their head and so forth. But there's so much to this, and the church, I think, thanks be to God, through modern psychiatry and psychology and so forth, the church has come to I think, a more blessed understanding of this. No one who does this. I mean, you'd have to believe that there could potentially be someone who's in their right mind and just says, you know what, this is just simply what I want to do. But your average person who dies by suicide, Debbie, I really have to believe this is not what they would want. It's not what they would not want to do this to themselves, to their family, to God. They don't go into it as this is I want to offend God by doing this. It really is a means of escape for them, and so the church looks much more compassionately upon them pastorally, and we all must as well. There's a huge stigma about this, so that's why we wanted to talk about this today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Have you lost someone from suicide? Are you haunted by that in any way? 833-288-3986. We will go right to your phone calls when we come back.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
One of the things that we often think about in our spiritual lives is how to do something big for God. But really, most of the time, we should focus on how we can do something small for God. It's these small things that help us consecrate our ordinary daily activities and help us do everything for Jesus Christ.
Catholic Answers Live, tonight, 6 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
On the journey to the heart of the Catholic faith, all roads lead to Rome. In Roman Encounters, Cardinal Gerhard Ludwig Müller explores Catholic teachings critical to the life of the Church. Delve into pivotal topics like where the Enlightenment went wrong and the right way to be Christian in our skeptical age. Roman Encounters, the latest release from EWTN Publishing. Available now at EWTNRC.com or call 1-800-854-6316.
I'm Jerry Usher.
And I'm Debbie Georgianni.
You're not going to want to miss the next free Jerry and Debbie live webinar with Father Donald Calloway, scheduled for Tuesday, October 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific. Father Calloway will share his amazing insights into the Holy Rosary, and will also discuss his new global movement to encourage us all to consecrate ourselves to St. Joseph. Remember, our webinars are absolutely free, and you have to register online at jerryanddebbie.com. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on this Monday broadcast. I am Jerry Usher, along with Debbie Georgianni and you, talking today about a loved one, family member, friend, coworker, neighbor, someone that you felt an affinity for who may have died by suicide, and how that made you feel. And maybe you've taken that as an opportunity to just really raise awareness of brain health issues, as Debbie calls them, mental health issues. And just really try and do whatever you can to prevent this from happening again. We are going to get to your phone calls in a moment. Just a programming note, I want to remind you about the Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo. It's tomorrow and every weekday morning at 9 Eastern Time, right here on most of these EWTN radio stations. And Debbie, we should also mention that we were planning to put a pilgrimage together to Philadelphia around a trip that we already thought that we had scheduled there, and that trip has now been postponed, so we want to let people know that we still hope to go to Philadelphia, but it just may not be in December as planned.
Yes, there was circumstances that came up, and actually, folks, if you could pray for the wonderful lady that this involves. I mean, some medical issues, and so we rescheduled the trip for the spring. And but actually it might work out fairly well, because we had a lot of people from New Jersey, New York, and Philadelphia who said, why aren't you doing it in the spring instead of in December? So I think we're going to work on the spring for Philadelphia and San Antonio, Texas. That's right. So everybody in the great state of Texas, you should be so excited. And then we will go from there. But also, Jerry, I just wanted to let folks know, if you want to know what's going on, make sure you like us on Facebook, Jerry and Debbie Facebook page, and also go to jerryanddebbie.com. There's information there as well. Also, the Inspired by Facebook Club is underway with the Lamb Supper, Dr. Scott Hans, and we have our first live chat coming up this week. So there's so many things that are happening in October and November. It's hard to always keep our listeners, constantly abreast of what's happening. So the best way is to go to Facebook, Jerry and Debbie, or jerryanddebbie.com. But yeah, Jerry, I just want all the Take Two family to pray for this wonderful, fine lady who just got a really heavy diagnosis, and I just want everybody to pray. Anyway.
Yes, indeed.
I get very emotional. I'm getting emotional lately. I don't know what's the matter with me.
Okay, well, this program is certainly one of those that could bring that about, so we're going to talk next. We're going to go to your phone calls here. Are you haunted by a loved one's suicide, or maybe some good has come out of it, we hope and pray? 833-288-3986. We'll start with Jerry in Dallas, Texas. Jerry is listening on Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Jerry. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Debbie and Jerry. I hope you can hear me.
Half dead. A priest happened to be going down that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side.
Right now.
Just fine.
I just want to. Can you hear me? Oh, good.
Yeah.
I just want to ask prayers for my son, Christopher Gregory. Yesterday was 1 year ago.
Likewise, a Levite came to the place, and when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side.
Him at 25 years old. This is a boy that grew up homeschooled till the 12th grade, went on to college, and started feeling.
But a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion at the sight. He approached
that he was having racing thoughts and just different things, depression. And once they turn over 18, kind of out of your hands medically, he was going into different therapies.
Approached the victim, poured oil and wine over his wounds, and bandaged them. Then he lifted him up.
Psychiatrist, I guess. By the time he was 25, they had him on 8 different medications, which I think is outrageous. Different people were doing different things. And
his own animal took him to an inn and cared for him. The next day he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper with the instruction, "Take care of him. If you spend more than what I have given you, I shall repay you."
Part of the cause of what happened to him. So I think it left a little crack for Satan to get in. And
which of these 3, in your opinion, was neighbor to the robber's victim? He answered,
but this was a boy that gave me no trouble and his whole life. So it's a terrible tragedy, but there's a priest, I can't remember his name, and he lost his grandmother to suicide. And
him with mercy. Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." Verbum Domini.
Always pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet, because it will go back in time, and that will free our loved ones from purgatory. And also, just the masses are very, they're going to be very good. And for all of us, to always, I have a devotion for the souls in purgatory from Padre Pio. So my whole life I've made sacrifices for them, and I'll just continue to do that. And, I have masses said for the souls in purgatory. And if anybody wants to put in a mass, even for my son, Christopher Gregory, I'd be greatly appreciative.
Yes. I can share a couple thoughts that come to my mind. Jerry, Debbie might have something as well, but no words can offer our deep sympathy and consolation for your loss, and in the manner that it happened. But like you said, there was so much going on, and I have always said, I've told Debbie this and other people as well, when I'm going through something, whatever it is, but especially when I've been going through my depression, I would call myself a chaser. I would go here if somebody says, "Hey, this might be able to help you. This might be able to help." I just chased whatever whatever it is. I'm not implying your son was doing this, but he was. You sort of indicated that he was going to different therapists and trying different medications, and I know that I can relate to that if that's indeed what he was doing, because you get into such a place of desperation and you just say, something has to work. God, something, please let something work. And I think, the more you try things and the more they don't work, the discouragement, the depression can just get deeper. And then that longing just to be out of that horrific place can just grow and grow and grow. And I'm so glad that you said what you said about praying. Any prayer, God is outside of time and space. God is I heard Father Robert Spitzer yesterday talking about God being in the eternal now, the divine now. Every moment is present to God, always right now. So we can pray, especially, like you said, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and have masses offered. Debbie, go ahead. I'm taking up a lot of time here. But
No, I was just going to say my heart just breaks for you, Jerry. I know this must be so hard on every anniversary, and this is the 1-year anniversary. And your Christopher Gregory is so blessed to have such a strong mom in you, that you want all these masses said and the prayers, and absolutely. And God stands outside of time, so it all has merit and is all worthy for us to do, and it's very powerful. And a lot of times we've gotten out of the idea of saying masses, or having masses said for the living and the deceased. We've gotten out of that, and I don't know why. We should get back into that. And so I appreciate you bringing that up today. And I just wanted to say real quickly, as you were talking about your beautiful son, I was thinking about our colleague and my friend who committed suicide. That's exactly what happened to him. They had him on so many different medications. He didn't know whether he was going or coming. He was a mess. He was one day up, one day down, one day up, one day down, and that was one of the reasons why I found it so hard for him to constantly reach out to talk to us, because there was no way we could help. We could be there. We could say, "Come on, Harvey, you can do this. We love you." But there was really nothing we could do to help, because we weren't doctors. We couldn't prescribe anything to make it go away. And he was just in this downward spiral, and you could see it, and it was horrible. So my heart just breaks for you that it is something that your son had to go through, and that your whole family has, and I just know that the Take Two family is surrounding you and your entire family with prayers, Jerry. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Well, I just want to say, growing up, he was homeschooled. We never, ever, ever got in the car without me driving, making the sign of the cross with my children, starting that rosary off, and they'd always say, "I want the third decade, I'd want the first decade." And then, adoration every Saturday, confession every Thursday, and Mass at least 2 or 3 times a week. So even though as an adult he started losing his faith, watching things on YouTube, getting more away, tell me flat out, I don't believe, I'm agnostic and everything, he had that. So I feel like the Blessed Mother took those graces that he had as a boy. He would listen to Catholic Answers even at 15. He'd say, "Mom, turn that up from the back of the van." So that's what I cling to now, that boy that had the deep faith. So that's all I can hold on to now.
yes,
Absolutely. And you should, and rightly so. Don't you think, Jerry?
yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, Jerry, it sounds like you had a very healthy home in many ways, spiritually, of course, and then the homeschooling is a sign that you really care for your kids, and you want them to be in that loving home environment and get the best education that you can. Because sometimes I think there's a labeling or a stigma that goes, with kids who have depression and anxiety and bipolar and take their lives and so forth, that they come from a certain type of family. There's maybe a broken family, or there's abuse or addictions or things like this, but this just shows that it can be a part of anybody's family and anybody's life, and so we all need to work together to, just to raise awareness of this. And as Debbie pointed out early in your earlier comments, Debbie, to look for signs, not necessarily be always looking under a microscope, but just to be aware of things, So our deepest sympathies, Jerry, go with you. And as Debbie said, the prayers of the entire Take Two family, and especially on yesterday, the 1-year anniversary of your son losing his life. So,
right. Well, Jerry, can I just say something on that? That as you just said that, it just made me. I want to just share this at our dear friend Harvey's funeral. His wife struggled terribly, and she went back and she looked at their 30-year marriage. 30 years, you guys. They were long married, beautiful kids. Oh my goodness, his children were amazing. Anyway, she looked back and she said she made a mistake. She saw that he was struggling with depression. He was struggling with things early on, and she didn't know what to do, and she just let it get, kind of let it. She just let it happen, unfold, until it got to the point where their marriage was in trouble, the family was breaking up, and so it was really hard on her. She was struggling bad for years, and she declined emotionally for years because she couldn't handle the fact that she did see a lot of the beginning signs that maybe she could have relieved. I don't know if she could have done it, but maybe she could have stopped some of the pressures that were on Harvey. There was a lot of pressure on him, a lot. And so I'm not trying to put any blame on any loved ones that are left behind. I'm not saying that, but you know what I'm saying, Jerry, that sometimes the signs are there, and we just think it's something you're gonna get past or outgrow or something. You know what I mean?
5 times before he succeeded on the 5th or 6th time. Because the way it was done, it was definitely, the other times were pills and different things, and the last time it was by hanging. So that's a definite. When you do it that way, it's done.
Yes.
There's no ifs, ands, and buts.
Well, Jerry, we entrust him to the Lord as you have done for this past year and probably long before that, and we join you in doing that. And I'm just going to ask all of the Take Two family. Today is the Feast of the Holy Rosary. Let's say a rosary for Christopher Gregory and for all of those who have died by suicide and the loved ones who still miss them and mourn for them horribly today. Thank you, Jerry. We appreciate your call. We're going to go to Therese in Northwest Michigan, listening on Baraga Radio. Hi, Therese. You're next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
So much for taking my call. My story is a little different. It is that I understand the suicidal thoughts and the feelings. I'm in my 70s, and I've battled with them since I was 9. And in recent years, I have put together a blog that I think would be helpful for everyone. The blog has 3 parts. The first part is the rock porch story, when I was in the deepest pit of depression, and how I cried out to God, and how he answered me, and he intervened, and he helped me. It also might help people who are survivors, to understand what it is, the twisted things that the devil puts in your mind, because it's my story, and about how I felt, and then it's a story about how God pulled me out. And then it continues on about how God keeps me pulled out and keeps me pulled up. The second part of the blog is a toolkit. It's things that I have found that have been helpful for me over the past 6 decades, and it does include things like triggers. What triggers these suicidal thoughts, and some symptoms to look for. And then there's over 23 posts that I've written about encouragement and about carrying on, and they're all scripture-based. It's all very Catholic. I include Jesus and Mary, the role of Jesus and Mary in helping you with these thoughts, and about not keeping things secret, and the rosary, and about how to pray the rosary. And I think that this blog could help other people. And I would like to be able to mention it if you felt it was appropriate.
Yeah, you know what, Therese, I'm sorry, you've emailed this blog to us before, and we have several things going on. We've been doing, Debbie and I have been doing pledge drives the last few weeks, and we have spam. A lot of email goes into spam, so I know you sent this to us, and I just ask your forgiveness that we have not seen it yet. But would you do us a favor? I promise I will look at it today. If you will just resend it to take2@EWTN.com, if you could do that.
Okay.
And it sounds like it's something that might be worthy of posting on the show website in relation to today's program. But and aside from that, God bless you. Thanks be to God that He has given you the help that He has, but you've been struggling with this for a very, very long time, and God bless you for your perseverance. That's all I can say, Therese, is you have been faithful. Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. Even when Debbie, we've all been through very, very dark moments, and it's in those darkest moments. A friend of mine calls them prayers of the feet, Deb. We've talked about that before, when you just take the next step forward, when you just don't know how you're going to do that. And so Therese it's quite an inspiration to me and to all of us, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to look at the blog threads and then hopefully get it posted, because having these resources for everyone to know what they're dealing with, and like you said, those that are the loved ones that are left behind in a situation like this and feel like they're spinning, going, what should I have done? Should I have done something different? They need a place. They need an outlet. And for you to turn this into a ministry, for you to turn your pain and what you've gone through into the ministry to help others, I think is very beautiful. God bless you. I hope it just expands and helps so many souls. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking today about if you're haunted by someone's suicide in your life. When we come back, we'll go back to the phone.
Gloria Purvis.
We have the wrong understanding and appreciation of pregnancy. We need to do what's best for the child, not what's convenient for the mother, the father, or the doctor.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
This is Mike and Alicia Hernan with the Messy Family Minute. It's vitally important for children to feel individually loved and known by their parents. Especially in a big family like ours, this can be very challenging. But no matter how many kids you have an obligation to work on your relationship with each individual child. Relationships are built with the material of time, and we need to give our time to our children in a very intentional way.
We do something with our kids that we call special time. Special time is spending time with one child doing something that they like to do. It can be very simple, like going to a park, the library, or going on a hike. Or you could go out for ice cream, a movie, or have some other fun experience.
It's really not important what you do. What is important is that you are focused on getting to know that individual child and sending them the message that they are important, they are loved, and they are known by you. This lays the foundation for their relationship with God.
For more inspiration and practical advice, visit us at messyfamilyminute.org.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
Don't you feel sometimes like there's so many people in the world? How does he hear your prayer? Never think of that, huh? Everybody thinks of that. I'm only a little grain of sand on the seashore. Oh, but that's not true. See, God is God. And you and I have to let God be God. I don't know how he does it. He's God.
For more information on Mother Angelica, visit Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com.
Tomorrow on More to Life, the life you were meant to live.
We'll look at how the theology of the body can help you live a more abundant life. That's tomorrow on More to Life, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central on EWTN Radio.
Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Always glad to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I am Jerry Usher, along with Debbie Georgianni. The show team all in place today. Rich Jesse, the producer on the controls, Jeff Burston on social media, and Ryan Penny is our call screeners. Talking today about if you had a loved one or an acquaintance, a family member, maybe a friend, a neighbor, someone who lost their life by suicide, and how that has impacted you. And hopefully some of these, it's not unusual when something like this turns into, God can turn it into a good somehow, and we hope that has happened in many of these cases. We're going to hear from our next callers, Peg being up next in line in Long Island, New York, listening to the program on Sirius XM 130, and a first-time caller. Hi, Peg. Welcome to Take Two.
Hello. I'm always listening to the EWTN radio. I love it. And I wanted to actually share something that didn't happen to me personally, but to my daughter. My daughter was studying in Brooklyn. She was Hunter College. She was working and studying, and she met a young man. I'm going to call him Shaheem. And he was also trying to go to school, had part-time jobs, didn't have any medical insurance. And his family, he was the only male in the family. And his mother, his sister, the sister's children, all of them were dependent on him for, I guess, everything emotionally, if you can imagine. And that's how, so he was struggling when they met, but then he seemed to be able to put things together. My husband and I went in one time, and he and my daughter took us around, showed us some of the sights in New York. but he had a horrific cold, and I, of course, in my naive way, just assumed that you could go and get medical attention. And found out later, of course, he didn't have any insurance. But anyway, what I want to get to is that at some point, the burden of everything broke him, and he became a different person. And my daughter, he kept wanting my daughter to come see him and meet with him and so forth. Another friend of hers, another young man who knew this fellow pretty well, kept saying to her, "Don't do it. He is not the same Jaheen that you knew before." He ended up taking his life with a gun. Now, I want to get to the point. The point of my call is that nobody's life is wasted. My daughter and I went to see where he was buried out here on Long Island, and when we were there at the graveyard, the Holy Spirit inspired me to say we prayed together, Our Father, Hail Mary for him. But what struck me was the Holy Spirit gave me the word, there are no tombstones in heaven. God knows what Jaheen faced. He knows what how his mind and his body could no longer carry. Now, years later, my daughter is working for a bank. She is one of the people who unfortunately has to tell some people that they are being fired. She is doing this with another woman, and they are confronting this young man. And this young man is saying things when they tell him that I can't go home and tell anybody. I can't go home and tell them. I can't go. And whatever he was saying, my daughter immediately recognized the downward spiral. And she went and consciously called the police department, who happens to have on staff folks to help folks like this. And so, yes, Jaheen took his life, but he also saved a life. Because if my daughter had not experienced what she did in that relationship and in what happened to him and the loss, she would not probably have been in any way prepared to recognize what this young man was actually saying. And she was so relieved that when those folks showed up, they came in very quietly, discreetly, sat down and said, what's going on, man? What's going on? I forget his name, but anyway, what's going on? Think really, you don't want to talk to us and so forth. And they were able to get him help. Mm-hmm. So God can draw good out of everything, right?
Yes,
even the loss of a life.
Well, Peg, I'm so sorry for that your daughter and you had to experience the go through what she had to go through. Obviously, being in a relationship with this young man, and it's so unfortunate that it had to get to that point. But as you were speaking, I was hearing so many things that were reminding me of the two situations I know that close relationships I've had with two people that have taken their own life, and one that attempted suicide and he didn't succeed, thank God.
Right.
It's very interesting. Okay, tell me if this is the common denominator. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of feelings of like you're going down and you don't know, you don't have the support around you. You're afraid of what people may think or may say. You feel very alone, and the pressure is so great. Am I sensing that? Because that's what in these two people that took their own life, and then the third one that attempted and didn't succeed. That was the case for all three of these men. All three of these men had tremendous pressure on them, and they felt very alone. So is that what you're sensing, that we've got to be very aware when we see somebody under severe pressure?
Yes, I would say so, definitely. Reach out to them in some way, hand on the back, rubbing their shoulder, seeing whether or not you can help them or even witness to them. That, like Jerry said, he had terrible depression. I've had that all my life. I take stuff for it. I see a counselor. I try to just stay in a balanced state. Not always easy. Suddenly, I'm an older person now, but at 71, I had an anxiety attack. I had never had that before, and I could not, for the life of me, pin down why that happened. Fortunately, of course, I have a loving family, a husband that took me right to the doctors, a counselor that was appointed to help me. I am so blessed. And I have, medical insurance, and I have, the means to, and of course, thank you, God, I have the faith that God's going to get me through. But I do believe it. I have, I have a good life. I have a nice home and so forth and so on. But it doesn't mean that makes a difference for whatever the depression comes from. You need somebody to reach out to you. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
And I think you're right. Our antennas should be up when we are around anyone who appears to be having, just be down. And, I work at a public library. And, it kind of, you make an awareness, especially with some young people, that, they need that extra recognition. If you know their name when they walk in that door, you say it. You say, hi, Amy, or hi, whoever. You make the connection that somebody is seeing them. They are real. They are there. God made us unique and unrepeatable.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no one-size-fits-all here, Peg, or anybody. When I look at my own situation, when the depression, I was going through that, sometimes I would sit there and I would go, I'm on top of the world, God has given me a home to live in and, a blessed place on Catholic radio, and I have friends and I have family and everybody loves me and I love everybody, and, you just can't figure it out. And yet, those the little molehills do become mountains. And I'm talking about things of daily life. How often do we hear that, so-and-so died by suicide because, he lost his job or the family finances weren't in good shape or, he was having marital problems or something. Yes, these are serious matters, but even far less serious matters can drive somebody to that. It's like, I have to do laundry. I have to shave. I have to brush my teeth today. So many of these little things, it sounds trivial, but they can just become the most burdensome things in the world. When all you want to do is just, all you want to do is escape, So we have to. Thank you, Peg, for your call. And this is, Debbie, I've learned so much from this, and I am really more motivated than ever to really try and, do something, raise awareness, be on the lookout, and like Peg said, treat people with respect. When I go to the grocery store, any store, wherever I am, I always address people by their name. I try and uphold their dignity. I try and wish them a good day, raise them up, because you don't know what people are going through.
That's right. And it has been said, Jerry, that sometimes people feel like even a smile can change their whole feeling inside of where they're at that moment in life. It's very interesting how we need that connection. We need that support from one another. Thank you, Peg. Thank you so much for sharing what you shared today. I think it helped all of us, and God bless you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Jerry, you said something about prayers of the feet, okay, and you talk about that a lot. I think you've posted that. Didn't you post that one time on the website? I think you did.
Well, we had a listener who wrote a poem based on some things that I had said on the air, which was absolutely, it was so starkly close to the experience that I had gone through. Yeah, perhaps I can post that again up on the show website, along with maybe some other resources. Yeah.
That would be great. Okay, we're going to move on to Michael, and Michael is in Boston, Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Michael. Thank you for waiting, and welcome.
Hello, Jerry and Debbie. How are you, dear?
Hi, welcome back, Michael. Thanks for calling again.
I'll tell you a story. I've been a police officer almost 35 years. I'm still working. And in the old days, the ancient old days, those who gave up their life to suicide they were considered an act of selfishness. But thanks be to God, people realize that it's something. The mind, the brain is an organ like the rest of the body. It can suffer illness, and the church just recognizes that this lots of components to go in. One of fear, desperation, despair. If they had any other choice, like I say, no one wants to do that. Just like no one wants to be a prostitute, no one wants to be whatever. It's just whatever factors lead to that. And I've seen in my career many, many cases, unfortunately, people that have taken their lives by hanging or shooting themselves or whatever. And as a police officer, you have to consider the crime scene. So you have to stay there with that body until it's considered okay to move it. And I've had loved ones banging on the door. Let us in. We can't let you in. And I felt, oh, it's terrible. They're wondering about their little loved one. What's going on here? And it bothered me a lot. And that was in my first years. But as the years got on, I had this priest give me this thing called the rosary ring. It was a metal ring with a cross, and so you could carry the rosary on your finger instead of having a whole bunch of beads. So I decided to buy a whole bunch of those. And my father, God rest his soul, he was big on mercy. And I'm talking, I'm 61, so we're going back 50 some odd years. He was pushing mercy back then. And I started giving those out. I started giving those out to kids in the corner. I gave them out wherever I could. And no one said, oh, it's just a separation of church and state. No, they took them. Sometimes I'd drive by the next corner. Someone would be in the gutter, wet or whatever. I'd pick them up, put them back in my pocket. But a lot of them kept them because there's something that has to be people who are desperate, fearful, and despair has to know there's mercy. That God does love them. That God does love them, and that has to be promoted. It has to be promoted right from I would say from the time you get out of the cradle. That's how my father was. He was a mercy guy. Mercy, mercy, mercy. And he told about the old days, how people used to look at people, oh, you're this or that. No, he says, you never know what's going inside of someone's head. You always say a prayer. But there's the key. There's the key is mercy, and we should always have time to listen, say, what's going on with you? That's all. Like someone said, a smile or open the door, but if you have a chance to sit with someone and say, what's going on with you? I mean, really, let them talk. That may open a door.
Yeah. Michael, you've said so much. First of all, thank you for your career as a police officer. Obviously, that includes, as you said, first responder. You've probably seen too many situations such as this, and you again have alluded to just acknowledging people and letting them know that they are a human being who is loved and has dignity. And I don't know the truth of this story at all, but I heard at one time there was somebody who walked out onto the Golden Gate Bridge with the intention of committing suicide, and did end up jumping over into the water, and left a note behind that said, if one person smiles at me on the way out here, I won't do this. Now, again, I don't know if that's a true story or not, but Debbie, when you think about it, it might as well be, because this is all that some people are looking for, is just a smile, just to be acknowledged, just to have somebody say, hello, how are you, and really mean it,
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
But
well, as you go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
But you know what? That's what my father used to tell me, and I'm 61, so God rest his soul. He used to say, years ago the churches were open late at night, so if someone was heading for a bridge or whatever, they saw that light on, they could come in and say a prayer. It might have changed their mind. And that's no accusation against the church. We should be that light. They should know there's a light to come to us, to knock on the door. I mean, learn who your neighbors are. Learn who their kids are, whatever. And let them know, geez, you need anything. That doesn't just mean a bottle of milk or a loaf of bread. You need anything. Come on, knock on my door.
Well, Michael, you said a lot of things that are really they're triggering so many memories for me, actually, and actually what Peg was saying as well. I thank you for the work that you've had to do. I know it must have been very hard at times to have to be with the person that has taken their own life, and the family members trying to get to that person. The thing about suicide, as we all know, it's so shocking, and you don't know how to react. It's so many emotions go through your head, like how could this happen? Why wasn't somebody with them? All these things start going through your head. But Jerry, I just wanted to say something based on back what Peg was saying. I had one of my in-laws tried, the person I was referring to tried to commit suicide, and his children found him hanging in. He didn't succeed. Found him hanging. His young children found him hanging in the garage, and he was able to be brought down, and he's living a very beautiful and productive, wonderful life now with getting the help that he needed. But Peg was saying how people change. It's very interesting. We were watching our family member change. He was changing. He was getting angry. He was being irrational. He was being really strange, sometimes very codependent, but then other times he would be off on his own island. And what happened is we all knew stuff was happening with him, but everybody didn't know what to do. So what we all did is we kind of backed away. We kind of withdrew. We got away from him, and I don't know if that was the right. What do you think, Jerry? I don't think that was the right response.
Well, it may not have been right, but I can't say that you really knew any better. I mean, it's when we talk about things like this, there are a lot of things in life that make us sort of recoil, not because we don't want to help somebody, but because it's unfamiliar to us. We don't know what to do, and so when we don't know what to do. I know I've been in many situations where I've wanted to help somebody in whatever situation, and I thought, well, I don't really know, should I do this? Is that going to help? Is that going to hurt? Should I do this? Pretty soon, you end up doing nothing sometimes. So it's not a fault so much as I think it's just an uncertainty as to what you can do to help, especially in a situation with someone who might be flirting with thoughts of ending their life.
Right, yeah. Okay, yeah, let's move on to Kathleen. Kathleen's in Illinois, and she's a first-time caller. Kathleen, you definitely got our Virtual Patience Award today. God bless you. You have just a heart of gold for waiting so long. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hello. Well, I made it safely home. I called when I was on the road.
Oh, good. Praise God.
Oh, good.
My younger brother, who was 51 years old, Scott, committed suicide by hanging in his garage. He was the funniest person in the world. I loved any family gathering that we had because he just made me laugh. He had no history of depression. He did drink to excess, which could have contributed, but he did leave a suicide note. And he was very well off financially. Unfortunately, he was divorced twice. And the third woman that he was very serious about, he had found out was having affairs with two different married men, and was not being honest with him at all. He was preparing his house for her to come visit. It was a long-distance relationship. And we think, though, even though he was so successful, he had a gazillion friends. Everybody loved him. He had family. He had everything. But I think what was missing for him was love in his life. And he couldn't handle this betrayal. The thing was, they found him, they thought, 2 days later. And it was his neighbor and best friend and co-worker who finally found him. And they think that he had died 2 days earlier, which was my daughter's birthday.
Oh, no.
I have some guilt about that because for birthdays in our family, I'm the one who always texts everybody or calls everybody, did you say happy birthday? Remember, it's Alexandra's birthday. And for some reason, I did not. And I think, oh, my God, he would never do that if he knew it was my daughter's birthday. He was her godfather.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, Kathleen. But, Kathleen, may I say something? Because we're going to actually start to run out of time, but this is too important. Couple things. Did you say your brother was 51 or 61?
51. 51. Yes.
51. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, but I'm going to go. Go ahead. I'm going to go with what Jerry always says. You've got to reframe this. If he's the godfather of your daughter, he would have, when they found him, it was 2 days later, so it would have been on your daughter's birthday. I believe there's a reason to this. There's a reason that your daughter and you, everybody, and I know you're doing this, Kathleen, just to really,
my daughter
going
has
back
depression.
to. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
My daughter
Okay.
has
So here's what here's what needs to happen. Go back to this idea of having masses said. We need to have masses for the living and the deceased, but for the living, we forget about that. We need to hunker down in prayer. We need to go to adoration. We need to do. There's a reason. I feel it strongly. So let's really deeply immerse ourselves in prayer for your brother, for you, Kathleen, and for your daughter. We need to do that. Jerry, are you feeling that too? Because I feel it very
Absolutely.
strongly.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
No wife, no kids. He left his money to the three sisters, and I had lost my job. So every day I thank God and him for being financially stable. And that is a good thing that came out of it for me. I don't want to put too much emphasis on money, but he really did help me out a lot.
How old is your daughter now, Kathleen?
She's 31.
31?
She's 31. And the odd thing was, too, that she had met her fiancé at a party at his house on the 4th of July, and her fiancé's parents bought my brother's house, which was kind of odd, too. So I still go there.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Oh, my.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of connections, but okay.
Well, but here's the thing, Kathleen. No, I know, but here's the thing, Kathleen. I would definitely, if you can, use some of that money because, there's stipends that you give $5 or $10 to have masses said. I would have a series of years' worth of masses said. I mean, those masses are very powerful. I can't even begin to tell you how powerful they are. So I would encourage you to do that. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things I wanted to mention before the end of the program, which is coming up right here in just a moment, Kathleen, is any prayers offered, of course, in and through Christ, especially the sacrifice of the Mass. We know that God is outside of time and space, so the offering of Jesus himself to the Father on the cross is always present before the Father and has been for all eternity. So, and I also say in the Divine Mercy Chaplet and in the Mass, when we offer any person, any intention, anything that we pray for in and through the passion of Jesus Christ, I don't see how the Father could say no. I don't, because if we're saying, Father,
right.
look upon your Son on the cross. He offered everything for you and for us and for our salvation and for our intentions. Father, I'm offering this to you through your Son. He's looking upon his Son when we ask him for anything. So let's be bold. Let's be confident. Let's have an assurance that God's mercy is always there. Debbie, we have a lot of people that we haven't gotten to. If you're on the line, I think we better do a part 2 tomorrow. What do you think?
Absolutely. Please, if you're on the line, call back tomorrow, and Ryan will put you at the head of the line so you can get on tomorrow's part 2 of this very important topic. Until then, folks, we just wish you a beautiful, peaceful, and blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow.